Hello everyone. So welcome back to the second video on Venn diagrams matrix method. So in the first video we did understand what exactly is matrix method and how to relate the circle method to the matrix method. However, we are yet to do the basics of Venn diagram. I haven't taught you that, no doubt in that. So what we are specifically doing in these videos is that we are simply understanding how to solve a question pertaining to matrix method. Alright, so as of now, if you do not know the basics of Venn diagram, then I don't think it's going to be any fruitful for you to watch this video. These videos as of now, unless and until I upload the video on the basics of Venn diagram, these two videos are basically for those who know like what is a matrix method and they're having difficulties in solving questions, right? So probably after some time I'll be able to upload the video of the basics of Venn diagram and then you'll be able to connect all the dots. So anyways, taking it from what we did in the last video, in this one again we'll be solving more questions, difficult questions. I call them difficult for the fact that the language it's not easy to understand or to interpret, right? So that is exactly what we'll be focusing upon. Okay, how to read a question, then how to form a matrix, and then simply solving the question. All right. So we did 4 questions in the previous video. In this one, we'll be starting with the 5th one. So pause the video and try the question yourself first. Alright guys, let's see what we can do with this one. So in the first go, as soon as I see this question, I would realize that it has a lot of piece of information, no denying in that part. Anyways, let's go through this question. Let's see what all can we decode. Okay, so some of the people in town X are left-handed. Okay, so I have town X, I have left-handed. Some are tall, some are both, and some are neither. Alright. So if I go through the first line, then the first thing that if I think from the matrix perspective, I would realize that okay, I have a town X. Then the two quantities that we have in town X is tall, not tall, left-handed and not left-handed. Okay, these are the things that we are talking about in this question. So I have my mental matrix ready. That is at the top I can write tall, not tall, and on the left hand side I can write left-handed and not left-handed for town X. Okay, now my mental matrix is ready and I have read only this first line. In town Y, okay, now we have a town Y also. 3 times as many people are left-handed as are left-handed in town X. 3 times as many people are tall as are tall in town X. 3 times as many people are both as are both in town X. Okay, now I have a town Y also. In case of town Y, what they have compared? They have basically compared left-handed people of town Y with left-handed of town X, both of town X with both of town Y, and tall of town X with tall of town Y. So they have compared the two things, alright? Alright, fine. So now I can, if I process my mental image more, now I would think it in this way that, okay, I need to have two matrices now, one for town X and one for town Y. Okay, so I have read it till this point. I'm going to keep it till here itself. I will not be reading it any further. First, I'll be drawing the two matrices, one for town X and one for town Y. I have a town X and I have a town Y. Now let's draw the magical lines. And the quantities, as we have already discussed, the quantities are tall, not tall, left-handed, so I'm going to write it as LH, okay, and not left-handed. For town Y, again it's tall, not tall, left-handed, and not left-handed. Okay, Alright, so my matrices are ready. Now I just have to plug in the information. But before I do that, I'll be reading the question entirely. Okay, I'll be reading the complete question. If the total number of people in town X is 4 times greater than the total number of people in town Y, what could be the number of people in town X who are neither left-handed nor tall? Alright. So in this case, they'll be giving you a couple of options. You need to pick one of the options. So I prefer not to give options because it's more about the logic which you need to know, and less about the answers that you'll be fetching. Okay. Alright, so let's start with plugging in the informations. So some of the people in town X are left-handed, some are left-handed, some are tall, and some are both, and some are neither. So in town X, I have left-handed, I have tall, I have both, I have neither also. In town X, 3 times as many people are left-handed as are left-handed in town X. In town Y, 3 times as many people are left-handed as are left-handed in town X. That is, if I take the left-handed for town X to be A, the left-handed for town Y will automatically become 3. Read this statement. In town Y, 3 times as many people. In town Y, 3 times as many people are left-handed as are left-handed in town X. So if I take town X left-handed to be A, then town Y left-handed will be thrice of it. Then moving on, it says, now this is between the commas, so now you're done with this piece of information, so you can remove it. Now again, read from here. In town Y, 3 times as many people are tall as are tall in town X. If I consider tall in town X, if I consider tall in town X to be B, then tall in town Y will become thrice of B. Okay. Now again, it's between the commas, so now you have made use of it, so remove it. Now again, in town Y, 3 times as many people are both as are both in town X. 3 times as many people are both as are both in town X. Alright. So if you take this to be C, then this will become thrice of C. Then this will become thrice of C. Alright, what else? So this is also done. This part from here to here, it's also done. In town Y, again, in town Y, no one is neither. In town Y, no one is neither. That is, this here is 0. No one is neither basically means that no one is tall and no one is left-handed. Because the two things that we are basically talking about in the equation is left-handed and tall. Okay. So this becomes 0. And then there is the question. Okay. Alright. Now let's go back to the drawing board. Let's see what we can do. There's one more piece of information. I think I missed out on that. Yes. If the total number of people in town X is 4 times greater. See, this is 4 times greater. 4 times greater. It's not 4 times of, it's 4 times greater. So if you guys remember, and if you have watched my percentage video, in that video I took like a couple of statements, right? 100% more than, 100% off, or 200% off, questions like those, right? Statement like those, sorry. So this is like one of those statements. 4 times greater than, 4 times, or you write 4 times more than or 4 times greater than, it's one and the same thing. Okay, so that means if you take the number of people in town Y, total number of people in town Y to be P, then total number of people in town Y will become P plus 4P. It's 4 times greater, 4 times greater, 4 times more, not 4 times off. Okay, so this will become 5. So town Y total, if I'm going to take it to be P, then this will automatically become 5 times of P. Okay, now what do we need to figure out? So according to the question, we need to figure out this. this blue part, okay, this blue box basically. What could be the number of people in town X who are neither left-handed nor tall? Neither left-handed nor tall. This is what we need to figure out. The blue box. All right. Let's first look at town Y and let's start solving it also. So total left-handed is 3A. Total number of people are P. So total not left-handed will be P minus 3A. Total left-handed is 3A. Total number of people is P. So total not left-handed is P minus 3A. Okay. So not left-handed and tall will simply become P minus 3A because this here it's 0. Okay, because this here it's 0. And not tall and left-handed will automatically become 3A minus 3C. Now simply equate them, nothing else is there. So I'll be using like column 1. You can use row 1 also. If I'm going to use column 1, I can say that 3C plus P minus 3A is equal to 3B, or P is equal to 3B plus 3A minus 3C. So I have the value of P in terms of A, B and C, which is 3B plus 3A minus 3C. Alright. Similarly, now come to town X. If you come to town X, now total left-handed it's A, total number of people is 5P. So not left-handed will become 5P minus A. It will become 5P minus A. Alright. Total tall it's B. Total tall it's B. Now left-handed and tall it's C. So not left-handed and tall will become B minus C. Will become B minus C. Now let's consider the value of this block to be some value H. Okay, that we need to figure out. So I can say that H will simply become 5P minus A minus B minus C, which is equal to 5P minus A minus B plus C. So H is equal to 5P minus A minus B plus C. Alright, now I just need to solve this. Alright. So I can also write the value of H as, or let's do one thing, I need to replace the value of P, right? Because P is 3B plus 3A minus 3C. So let me do my calculations on the right hand side at the top. So the value of H will simply become 5 times 3B plus 3A minus 3C minus A minus B plus C. So the value of H from here will become 15B plus 15A minus 15C minus A minus B plus C. Or from here you're going to get the value of H as 14B plus 14A minus 14C. So this is the value of H that we are looking for. Okay. So the value of H that we are looking for is 14 times A plus B minus C. Now when we spoke regarding A, B and C have to be integers, right? Because A represent number of people who are left-handed, B represent number of people who are tall, C represent number of people who are both tall and left-handed, right? So these values represent an integer. So I can also say that this here would be an integer value. This here would simply be an integer value. So whatever will be the value of H, it has to be a multiple of 14. Whatever may be the value of H, it has to be a multiple of 14. So you will have an option which will be a multiple of 14 and that will be your answer. And that will simply be your answer. So good question. Something that students who are appearing for GMAT can expect as a 740, 750 level question. And those who are planning to score 170 in GRE, you can get a question like this also if it is from Venn diagrams. Alright. Alright guys, let's move on. So pause the video and try this question number 6 please. Alright, let's try this one. So let's read the question first of all. 50% of the apartments in a certain building have windows and hardwood floors. Okay. In the first line, I think I have my two quantities, windows and hardwood floors. 25% of the apartments without windows have hardwood floors. Okay. If 40% of the apartment do not have hardwood floors, what percent of apartments with windows have hardwood floors? Alright, so everything given to me in terms of percentages. Three statements, everything in terms of percentages. So I'm gonna first of all draw the three magical lines, three vertical ones, three horizontal ones. So I'm gonna have window, then no window, then I'm gonna have hardwood floors, and then no hardwood floors. Okay, these are the things. Alright, so you can take total to be 100 because everything is given to in terms of percentages. You could have taken it to be like some other value apart from 100 also. It won't have any impact on the answer. For the very fact that if everything is given to you in terms of percentages, they will also be asking questions in terms of percentages only. Okay, or you can take it to be X, completely your call. Okay, so I'm gonna do it both the ways. I'm gonna do with the help of 100 and X simultaneously. Choice is yours, which way you want to adapt. Okay, so let's begin. So I can take my total to be 100 or I can take it to be X. Okay, now let's go statement by statement. So I'll be starting with the third statement first. So let me read the question again. 50% of the apartments in a certain building have windows or hardwood floors. Windows and hardwood floors, okay, not all, my mistake. Windows and hardwood floors. Every word matters in Venn diagrams, right? So this seems like an easy piece of information. 50% have windows and hardwood. So windows and hardwood, it's 50%. So that will be 50, or you can write it as X by 2. Okay, 50 or X by 2, whichever way you want to do it, completely your call. 25% of the apartments without windows have hardwood floors. Now without windows, I need to know first. I do not know that because this is no windows is this quantity. So let's keep this statement aside. Let's move on to the third one. If 40% of the apartments do not have hardwood floors, so 40% do not have hardwood floors. So 40% will become 40, or you can write it to be like 0.4x. Now if the value here are 40 or 0.4x, then the one just above it will become 60 or 0.66. Okay, because the total is 100 or x. Alright, now if this total hardwood is 60 or 0.66, then I can say that hardwood and no window, hardwood and no window, that is the block that is left to the one in which we have written 50 and x by 2, this value will become 10 or 0.1x. Why 0.1x? Because x by 2 is 0.5x, 0.6x minus 0.5x is 0.1x. Alright, okay, now let's move on to the second statement. That's the only one which is left for us to interpret. It says 25% of the apartments without windows, 25% of the apartments without windows have hardwood floors. 25% of the apartment without windows. So what this statement basically means is that if I take the total number of apartments having no windows or without windows to be P, then 25% of this is equal to this value. So this value here is equal to 0.25. 25% of the apartment without windows. So if total without windows is P, then 25% of P is 0.25 P. They have hardwood floors. They have hardwood floors. So this value here, which is 10 or 0.1x, will be equal to 0.25 P. Now from here, you just need to calculate the value of P. So one case will be 0.25 P is equal to 10, which will give you P is equal to 40. Second is 0.25 P will be equal to 0.1x, which will give you P as 0.4x. So 40 or 0.4x. Let's plug in the values. 40 or 0.4x. Now if total no window is 40 or 0.4x, if total no window is 40 or 0.4x, then this value, which is in the block just below 10 and 0.1x, will become 30 or 0.3x, will become 30 or 0.3x, and one to the left of 30 or 0.3x will automatically become 10 or 0.1x, and total windows will become 60 or 0.6x, will become 60 or 0.6x. Now let's read the question. The question says, what percent of apartment with windows have hardwood floors? What percent of apartment with windows have hardwood floors? Now please read this question carefully. Do not write your answer as 50 by 100 into 100%. That's incorrect. See what the statement is basically saying. What percent of the apartment with windows have hardwood floors? So they're basically asking you, out of the apartments those have windows, out of the apartments those have windows, what percent of them have hardwood floors? Out of the apartments those have windows, what percent have hardwood floors? What percent have hardwood floors? They're asking you 50 with respect to 60, because of the 60 apartments that have windows, of the 60 apartments that have windows, 50 have hardwood floors. So percentages will simply become 50 by 60 into 100%. That is 5 by 6 into 100, and that's your answer. That is 500 by 6%. That is 500 by 6%, and that's your answer. Okay, now I'm going to give you a small variant of this question. So I'm going to change this statement to, and I'm looking forward to your answers in the comment box. 25% of the apartments without windows have no hardwood floors. Okay, so instead of hardwood floors, I'm just adding this word no here. Okay, so let me know your answer in the comment box for this one. Alright, so let's move on to question number 7. So please pause the video and try this question yourself first. So this looks like a pretty simple one. In an apartment, 96% of the people have bikes, 23% have cars, and if everyone in the apartment owns at least a bike or a car, then find the fraction of total people that have both bikes and cars. Let's see what we can do with this one. So there are two quantities that we are talking about here is bike and car. So bike, no bike, car, and no car. Everything is given in terms of percentage, so I'm going to take my total to be 100 itself. You can take it to be x also, it's completely your call. So 96 have bikes, so 96 have bikes, that means 4 do not have bike. 23% have cars, so this is 23, which means 77 do not have a car. Now, if everyone in the apartment owns at least a bike or a car, that means people owning no bike and no car would be 0. This is 0, then the one to the left of it will become 77. 1 to the top of 0 will become 4. 1 to the left of 4 will become 90. Then find the fraction of total people that have both bikes and cars. So the fraction is simply 19 by 100. Fraction is simply 19 by 100. Like a pretty easy question, right? So yes, you do get easy questions also. Not every question is going to be difficult. Okay. Alright, anyways, let's move on. We have 2 more questions to do. So pause the video and try this question yourself, please. Alright, so let's try this one. This one would have like twisted your thought process, right? Alright, let's see what we can do. So let's read the question first of all. 80% of the lights at Hotel California are on at 8 p.m. a certain evening. Okay. However, 40% of the lights that are supposed to be off are actually on, and 10% of the lights that are supposed to be on are actually off. Okay. What percent of lights that are on are supposed to be off? Oh, wow. Too confusing, right? So they have simply added this word supposed to be, and they have like changed the question entirely, made it a bit confusing. Okay. Anyways, we'll go step by step. So I'm gonna say actually on, actually off, supposed to be on, and supposed to be off. And I guess everything is given to us in terms of percentages only, and the question is also in terms of percentage. So I'm going to take my total to be 100. You can take it to be X also, that's completely your call. I'm going to take it to be 100. So 80% of the lights at Hotel California are on at 8 p.m. So actually on is 80. So actually off would be 20. First statement is done. 40% of the lights that are supposed to be off, 40% of the lights that are supposed to be off are actually on. Okay. So if I take supposed to be off as P, 40% of the lights that are supposed to be off are actually on. So this will here will become 0.4 P. Okay, so P are the actual number of lights which are supposed to be off. So 40% of that are actually on, so that will be 0.4 P. So 1 to the right of 0.4 P will automatically become 0.6 P. Alright. Now if supposed to be off is P, then supposed to be on will become 100 minus P. Will become 100 minus P. Okay, what else do we have? 10% of the lights that are supposed to be on are actually off. 10% of the lights that are supposed to be on are actually off. So 10% of this, that is 100 minus P, will basically come in this actually off. So 10% of that is 0.1 into 100 minus P. Okay, so to the left of it, you can write it as 0.9 into 100 minus P. Now, I'm going to sum this actually off column. You can sum the actually on column also. It's completely your call. So I can say 0.1 into 100 minus P plus 0.6 P is equal to 20. So 10 minus 0.1 P plus 0.6 P is 20. So 0.5 P is 10, and from P here I'm going to get P as 20. I'm going to get the value of P as 20. Once I have the value of P, then the question is done. What percent of lights that are on, what percent of lights that are on, that is like actually on, are supposed to be off? So this is basically what they're asking. So 0.4p is 0.4 into 20, that's simply 8. So what percent of lights that are on are supposed to be off? Okay, so again don't do 8 by 100. Again don't do 8 by 100. Read the question carefully. What percent of lights that are supposed to be on are off? What percent of lights that are, okay, sorry, what, I have read it incorrectly. I'm going to repeat myself. So it says what percent of lights that are on. So they're asking you with respect to on. Okay, what percent of lights that are on are supposed to be off? So how many are actually on? That is 80. And out of which how many were supposed to be off? That is 8. Your answer is 8 by 80 into 100%. That's 10%. So 10% of the lights that are on are supposed to be off. Okay, you can, like, instead of what, you can say from here you can use 10%. Now you can read that statement again. 10% of the lights that are on are supposed to be off. If you would have done it by 8 by 100, then whatever percentage value comes out to be, that will not go with the statement. Okay, because 10% of the lights that are on are supposed to be off. So this is what, I guess you must have noted this also in the previous all the questions that we have done, that language plays a very important role in case of Venn diagram. It's not about like drawing 3 vertical lines, 3 horizontal lines and trying to find out your answer. That's not what it's about. It's about the language. It plays a very important role in Venn diagram. Okay, these small things of this, more than, less than. Okay, these are the things you have to take into consideration. Alright, so let's try one more question. So pause the video and try this question, please. Alright, so let's try this one. So 70% of the 800 students in school T are male. Okay. At least 10% of the female students in school T participate in a sport. So I think I have male, I have female, and now I have another term which is sport. Okay, so I'm able to do some mental mapping. Okay, I can have male, female, then sport probably as the other quantity. Fewer than 30% of the male students in school T do not participate in sport. What is the maximum possible number of students in a school T who do not participate in sport? Cool. So first thing first, I'm able to identify my quantities. So that is male, female. So I have male, I have female, and then it says able to participate in sport. And do not participate in sport. So I'm writing P for participate. Okay, I guess that's clear. In sport. All right. Now, interestingly, the total quantity is given to me, which is a good thing. That is 800 students. So I'm going to write 800 here. 70% of 800 students are male. So 70% will be 560 are male. 560 are male, which basically means that 240 would be female, which basically means that 240 would be female. Now, at least 10%, at least word basically means equal to or greater than, equal to or greater than, okay, at least 10% of female students in school T participate in sport. That is greater than or equal to 10% of female participate in sport. So this is female, 10% or greater than 10%. So 10% of 240 is 24. So this value here would be anything from 24 to 240, because it says at least 10% of the female students in school T participate in sport. At least means greater than or equal to. So this value will be 24 to 240, which means the block just below it will be anything from 216 to 0. 240 minus 24 is 216. 240 minus 240 is 0. Now moving on, it says that fewer means less, fewer means less than 30% of the male students, less than 30%. So let's first calculate 30% of 560. So 30 by 100 into 560. So that's 50 into 3 is 150, 150 and 18 is 160. So less than 168 male students do not participate in sport. Less than 168. It's not saying 168 or less, it says less than 168. Okay, that means do not participate in sport will be any value from 167 to 0. It will be any value from 167. Now in this case I'm taking it to be an integer value for the fact that we are talking about students, so student has to be an integer value, it can't be a decimal value. Okay, so male and do not participate in sport is 167 to 0 or 0 to 167. So the block just above it will be like 560 minus 167, so 3, then 9, then 3. So it will be 393 to 560. It will be 393 to 560. Now what's the question? What is the maximum possible number of students in school who do not participate in sport? That is, in this question, what they're basically asking us, they're asking us to maximize this value. They're asking us to maximize this value. So take the maximum possible value of male who do not participate and take the maximum value of female who do not participate. Now add them up. So that is 216 and 167. So 13, 8, 383. Let me just check my calculation. 6, 7, 13, 8 and 383. That's the answer. Again, the point is going step by step. So I'm going to repeat these steps again for whichever Venn diagram question you may have. See, understand, the most important thing or the most critical thing is the language that is given to us in the question. Okay, you need to be well aware of how to use statement like more than, less than, equal to, at least, 10% more, okay, 200% more than. These statements you need to know, which I have already covered up in percentages. Okay, that's the rudimentary thing if you want to excel in Venn diagrams. Okay, it's not about like drawing 3 vertical lines and drawing 3 horizontal lines. Those magical lines are not gonna help you. It's about the statement, understanding the statement, grasping what it says, and then simply going step by step. Always start with the statement that's going to give you a conclusive piece of information. You can do not start with statements that have certain conditions with it. Okay, so you may it may happen that, let's suppose if you have 5 statements, so the fifth one is going to give you a conclusive piece of information. So first use the conclusive one, then go to the statements which are like may give you like different conditions. Okay, so this is what you need to do. I hope these 2 videos would have definitely helped you in understanding the way in which we are supposed to solve questions on Venn diagrams. Okay, if apart from this, if you still have any doubts, if you still have any concerns, if you have any suggestions, any questions to ask, please do that in the comment box, or you can like text me also privately on WhatsApp. It's completely fine either way. So that will be all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please do subscribe to the channel for more videos and exam related content on Venn diagrams. And if you're looking for personalized coaching for GMAT, GRE, or SAT, you can like WhatsApp me or you can drop me a mail. I'll be happy to help you out with that. Alright, guys. So thank you so much. Keep watching and keep learning. Thank you so much.